Good morning, one and all. Welcome to Shanvi Learning Services and welcome to biology session. 8th class, chapter number 3, the world of microorganism part 1. Today we are going to discuss about the very interesting topic, the world of microorganism part 1, part 2. Here, part 1, part 2 both are there. Let us know about the different microorganisms in part 1 and the continuation will be in part 2. So in front of us, the world of microorganisms, part 1 is there. So here, before going to enter to that world of microorganism, here, let us know the key words, new words in this lesson. Here, microorganism, microscope, microbiology, bacteria, fungi, and protozoa, algae, microarthropods, virus, and staining. Next, typhoid. Okay. Once again, I repeat: microorganism, microscope, microbiology, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, microarthropods, virus, staining, and typhoid. Okay. So these are the important words, keywords in microorganisms, world of microorganisms. See here, before going to enter into the lesson, we have to know what is microorganism. What is microorganism? What is the definition of microorganism? So microorganism is nothing but an organism that can be seen only with the help of a microscope. An organism that can be seen only with the help of the microscope, and that typically consists of only a single cell. That typically consists of only a single cell. Okay, I repeat once again: microorganism, an organism that can be seen only, please stay in line all of you. Yes, an organism that can be seen only with the help of a microscope, and that typically consists of only a single cell. So nowadays, most of the people are suffering with typhoid. So what is typhoid, sir? Typhoid is a fever. Typhoid is a fever, and it is an acute illness. Acute illness associated with fever. Associated with the fever that is most often caused by the Salmonella typhi bacteria. So typhoid is a bacteria, bacterial disease. Okay, it is a bacterial infection. Okay, so mostly often caused by the Salmonella typhi bacteria. What? Which is the which bacteria is a reason for the typhoid? Salmonella typhi bacteria. On that name, it is called like typhoid. Typhoid. Okay, so let us know like many facts, interesting facts about the microorganisms in this lesson. As nowadays many of people are suffering from typhoid, that's why I told about that. And now let us, in this we have once word staining. Staining, what is staining, sir? Staining nothing but a dye, nothing but color. Okay, A dye used to color organic tissue so as to make the structure visible for microscopic examination. See, we have many activities. In that activities, by staining that particular sample, if that particular sample is in all same color, if we cannot find out that particular structure what we are going to observe, then at that time we can do the staining. So every diagram like which is stained, below the diagram it's clearly given staining, stained diagram, like stained sample. It means a dye used to color organic tissue when we are going to observe under the microscope. So to make the structure visible for microscopic examination. So to visible the microscopic examination, we are going to stain that particular samples. So that is a staining. Okay. Okay, fine. Then let us enter into the world microorganism, the world of microorganisms, part 1. Okay. Why do we add few drops of buttermilk here? Why do we add a few drops of buttermilk to lukewarm milk to make curd? Yes, exactly. We daily in our daily life, we have experienced with these, like your mother is adding few drops of buttermilk to lukewarm milk. Why? To make a curd. To make a curd. Okay. So here, this lactobacillus bacteria is present in that sample, and in anaerobic respiration, that produces ethanol and energy. Okay, so like then in this that multiplication takes place, and that lactobacillus bacteria make the total milk to curd. Okay, and here, why does even cooked food get spoiled after some days? Why does even cooked food get spoiled after some days? Why do we get a bad smell from our mouth after we wake up in the morning? Why do we get a bad smell from our mouth after we wake up in the morning? So, in this chapter, we will try to find out what may be involved in the causing such a changes, and what is the reason for that particular smell and particular spoilage. The microorganisms are a reason. Okay, so what may be involved in causing such changes? Let us know. So 400 years back, several people wondered over such questions and tried to find out answers. Okay, 400 years back, several persons, several peoples wondered over such questions. What questions are that? Why does even cooked food get spoiled after some days? Why do we get bad smell from our mouth after we wake up in the morning? And how that milk is changing to curd? Like that, some of questions are there. So such questions and try to find out answers. So one such person was Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Okay, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Microbiology as a science. Okay, microbiology as a science was born in 1674. When Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, here, the great person Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Okay, who given idea about that microorganisms and who gave that answers for these questions. Microbiology as a science was born in. Okay, one such a person was Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Microbiology as a science was born in 1674 when Anthony van Leeuwenhoek observed a drop of lake water through a lens which he had developed. So Anthony van Leeuwenhoek is a great person. He developed a lens. With the help of lens, he collected some drops of water from the lake, and he had observed 1 or 2 drops of water under that lens what he had developed. Okay. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek was a fabric merchant. Okay, fabric merchant. Leeuwenhoek built a single lens powerful microscope. Microscope prepared by Leeuwenhoek. Just observe here. Anton van Leeuwenhoek prepared a single lens microscope which could magnify the objects 300 times. Which could magnify the objects 300 times. How many times? 300 times. His curiosity and skill of making powerful lenses was the secret of these inventions of a powerful microscope. His curiosity and skill of making powerful lenses was the secret of this invention of a powerful microscope. Okay. And next, see here, Antony van Leeuwenhoek. His keen observation of different materials under his microscope helped him to discover small moving organisms in 1678. Okay, he used his developed microscope. Okay, under his microscope, he observed very keenly the different materials. Okay, so his microscope helped him to discover small moving organisms under his microscope in 1678 year. He called them which small microorganisms which he had observed under his microscope. He called them animalcules. What is that? Animalcules in 1678. So that animalcules only named bacteria. Okay, important. Leeuwenhoek observed some of some of moving organisms. At that time, he doesn't know like what is that. So he discovered small moving micro not like organisms in 1678. Later he called them animalcules. Animalcules. Later these were named as bacteria. Named as bacteria. Then it is a microorganism. Along with the animalcules, he also observed many other microorganisms under his microscope. Not only that, many other organisms also observed under Antony van Leeuwenhoek microscope, which were named later on. This helped in further discovery of other microorganisms. When he got like about animalcules like bacteria, then slowly he had observed many of that other things and later he named for that. Okay. Now let us see what are microorganisms and where we can find them. What are microorganisms? Where we can find them. Now, what is microorganism? Once again, I repeat, an instrument which makes very small objects able to be seen, magnifying them greatly. That is a microscope. Microorganism is nothing but an organism that can be seen only with the help of a microscope and that typically consists of only a single cell. An organism that can be seen only with the help of a microscope and that typically consists of only a single cell. Okay. See here about microorganism. We can see several organisms in our surroundings, but we cannot see some of them with our naked eye, right? We can see some of with our naked eye, but we cannot see some with our naked eye in our surroundings, right? But we cannot see some of them with our naked eye. They can be seen only with the help of a microscope because they are very microscopic particles, microscopic organisms. So they can be seen only with the help of a microscope. They are called microorganisms. Microorganisms. One more definition also, an organism that can be seen only with the help of a microscope and that typically consists of only a single cell. Okay, so these are called microorganisms. Some of the microorganisms are shown in figure 2 to 6. Let us observe the different types of microorganisms. Okay, very, very important microorganisms. See now, coccus. This is a coccus. Please observe carefully. Your spelling will be different and pronunciation will be different. So you have to find out that and spelling also you have to learn your different types of spellings are there here. Coccus, coccus. Next, second one is bacillus. Okay, bacillus. Next, lactobacillus. Lactobacillus. This is a figure number 2. Different shapes of bacteria. Coccus, bacillus, and lactobacillus. These are the different shapes of bacteria. Different shapes of bacteria. Let us go for that one more microorganism, that is fungi. Okay. So here Penicillium. Okay, what is that? Penicillium. Next, Rhizopus. This is also called bread mold. Bread mold. Next, Aspergillus. Next one is Aspergillus. These are the fungi, comes under fungi category. Next, let us go for that figure number 4, protozoa. Protozoa. In this protozoa, you are very familiar with this amoeba, which does not have a definite structure. Okay, shape. Next, paramecium, not paramoecium. Here, paramecium. Okay, paramecium like a paranchepal. This structure will be like our paranchepal slippers. Okay, so here next, Vorticella. Vorticella. Okay, let us recall once again the microorganisms which are given here. Observe carefully. Figure number 2, different shapes of bacteria. Different shapes of bacteria. Here, coccus, first one. Second one, bacillus. And third one, lactobacillus. Lactobacillus. Next, what about fungi? Figure number 3, fungi. Penicillium. Next, Rhizopus, bread mold. Next, Aspergillus. Aspergillus. Next, figure number 4, protozoa. Protozoa. Here, amoeba. Amoeba, unicellular organism. Single cell. It consists of single cell. Next, paramecium. Nothing but paramecium. Paramecium. Next, Vorticella. Vorticella. These are the some of examples for bacteria, fungi, and protozoa. Okay. Next, here figure number 5. This is about algae. What is that? Algae. So here we can see a beautiful structure figures here from algae. Chlamydomonas. See children, here very, very important. These are structures. Amoeba structure. They may ask to draw. And next, bread mold structure, paramecium. All are important, but in that mostly they can ask to draw in exam. Please observe carefully the structures. Next, coming to algae, Chlamydomonas is also very, very important to draw the diagrams. Okay, so here Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas. All are comes under that algae. Next, Spirogyra. Spirogyra. Next, C, diatom. What is that? Diatom. Next, D is spirulina. Spirulina. Next, here, E, Idogonium, not Oidogonium. It is Idogonium. Please observe carefully, all of you. Figure number 5, E, Idogonium. Idogonium. Oedogonium. Idogonium. Next, figure number F, Serratium. This is Ceratium. These all are comes under algae. Next, let us go for figure number 6, microarthropods. Microarthropods. In this, Cyclops. What is that? A Cyclops. Next, B is Daphnia. What is that B? Daphnia. Next, C is Scabies mite. Scabies mite. These are the like responsible for that allergy, itchiness. Okay. Scabies mite. Scabies mice. Next, eyelash mite. Eyelash mite. Okay, not neelish that. Okay, that is eyelash mite. Okay, fine. Let us recall once again the figure number 5, figure number 6, algae and microarthropods. Now, figure number 5, algae. A. Chlamydomonas. What is that? Chlamydomonas. Next, B is Spirogyra. B is Spirogyra. Next, C is Diatom. Diatom. Next, D, Spirulina. E, Idogonium. Oedogonium. Idogonium. And last one, F, Ceratium. What is that? Ceratium. Okay. Let us go for the microarthropods. The first one, for the first arthropod, A is Cyclops. Okay, children? Cyclops. Next, B. Look at a screen, observe that figure. B is Daphnia. Okay. Next, C is Scabies mite. Scabies mite. Next, D is eyelash mite. D is eyelash mite. These all are the these all are microarthropods. Microarthropods. Now, let us study about some of a group of organisms. Group of organisms. Okay. Group of organisms. Here, let us study some microorganisms that belong to the groups like bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, and certain microarthropods with the help of some activities. Let us study some microorganisms that belongs to the groups like bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, certain microarthropods with the help of some activities. Already we have observed some of examples for this. For this, we need a microscope. You already know how to use it, and you could also refer to chapter Cell, the basic unit of life. Okay, how to use the microscope? You have to refer for the cell, the basic unit of life. Okay, now let us go for that activity to observe the different microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, and algae, and microarthropods, etc. See here, microorganisms in water. Very interesting, children. Microorganisms also present in water. So to observe that microorganisms in water, we need to collect some pond water or water, normal water, tap water from any tank in your surroundings. Collector, why we need to take this pond water or tank water? Why we should not take mineral water? Because mineral water is already mineralized. We may not get microorganisms in that water. So if we collect pond water or from tank, there is have chance to observe some of microorganisms in that water. So we need to collect some pond water or water from any tank in your surroundings. Take some of the greenish scrapings from the side of the tank. Okay, the side of this tank, you will observe that greenish scrapings already. So you have to take some of the greenish scrapings from the side of the tank and take 1 to 2 drops of water from the sample you have collected. Okay, you have to take the greenish scrapings and what water you have collected from the tank or pond water. You have to collect take 1 or 2 drops of water from that collected sample. where we have to take that on a slide. You just with the help of dropper, you put 1 or 2 drops of water on a slide and observe it under the microscope. Simple technique. There is no need of keep one more slide, and there is no need of here cover slip or any other things. Simply, if you take if you collect water from pond or tank, from that with the help of dropper, you have to take 1 or 2 drops. You just put 1 or 2 drops of water on a slide and observe under the microscope. Draw rough sketches in your notebook of what you have observed. It is necessary. Don't forget to draw that observation diagram in your observation book. While you are observing, you need to take a observation book with you. And while you are observing, you need to draw the diagram of your observation. It is must. Okay, don't forget to draw that. Okay, so draw rough sketches in your notebook of what you have observed. Compare it with, okay, compare it with the figures given above for observation and identification. You may also hold a discussion about their shape, size, and other characteristics with your friends. Okay, take your help, teacher help also, with help of teacher, and you just form as like groups in your friends, and you just observe that, and next you may also hold discussion about their shape, size, and other characteristics with your friends and teacher. Okay, take your teacher help also. And can you name the organisms which you have observed through the microscope? Already you have here a rough sketch diagrams. Here we have many of the organisms or diagrams in your textbook. You just compare that rough sketch diagram, what you have observed, the observation diagram with your textual diagrams, and expect and name the organisms which you have observed through the microscope. We will try to know more about the microscopic world by doing the following activities. By doing the following activities, we can know the microscopic world. Okay. To get more information, let us go for the following activities. And before that, we have to know about fungi also, because fungi also one of the microorganism. Microorganism. Okay. Here, now let us know about the fungi. Okay, I will tell you one definition about fungi. A fungi, a single-celled or multi-celled organisms. Okay, fungi maybe single-celled or multi-celled organisms. Okay, single-celled or multi-celled organisms without chlorophyll, without a chlorophyll, that reproduce by spores and lives by absorbing nutrients from organic matter. Fungi, nothing but a single celled or multi-cellular organism. Okay, without chlorophyll, that does not consist chlorophyll to make their own food like as plant, and that reproduce by spores. Okay, this is very important, that reproduce by spores and lives by absorbing nutrients. How they can live? By absorbing nutrients from organic matter. They depend on organic matter to absorb the nutrients. That is a fungi. Okay, fine. Then let us observe what is there in our textbook about the fungi. So usually after the rainy season, you might have seen some small umbrella like grows over rotten materials. Okay, spoiled materials. Please stay on line. Okay. Usually after the rainy season, you might have seen some umbrella like grows over rotten materials or dumped waste. Yes, you have experience with this. You have seen some umbrella like grows over rotten materials of dumped waste. Okay, dumped waste. Did you think about that dumped waste, like which is grow on that particular dumped waste materials? rotten materials like umbrella-like structures. So here, between the grasses in a field and edges of wet rotten wooden planks also. Between the grasses in a field and edges of wet rotten wooden planks. You can observe. Often you might have observed white patches on the bark of trees. You might have observed white patches on the bark of trees. These patches are formed due to fungi. The white patches, what you have observed, the white patches, what you have observed on the bark. Bark means what? Todka. Bark of trees. These patches are formed due to the fungi. Now let us look at them more closely by the following activity. Here we have a great activity, very easy activity you can also do at home. Okay. Now activity 2. So here the activity is photograph of a card in bowl. Photograph of card in bowl. Very simple activity and interesting activity. So let us know about that to observe that a particular microorganisms. Take some rotten part of vegetable or a black spoiled part of a bread or coconut with the help of a needle. Don't touch with hand because in your hand also maybe thousands of microorganisms are present. So while observing under microscope, we may get confused and we may not get a proper image. That's why you need to use a particular that needle to collect that you need to use that needle. So take some rotten part of vegetable or black spoiled part of bread or coconut with the help of a needle. Okay, with the help of a needle you have to take that. Okay, next with help of a needle, after collecting that sample, you place it on a slide. Particular black mark, you place it on a slide and put a drop of water. Put a drop of water with a dropper. Okay. After that, you have to place a cover slip on it gently. Okay. You have to collect with the needle that particular black spots and put on that slide. So on that sample, you have to take a drop of water, place a cover slip on that particular sample gently and observe that sample under the microscope because these are the microorganisms which can be seen under microscope only. That's why we need to use the microscope to observe that particular microorganisms. So here this is figure number 7, photograph of card in bowl. So let us go for that continuation here. Next, draw rough sketches in your notebook of what you observed. Take the help of the figures given in figure 3, bread mold, rhizopus, and compare. Okay, here we have rhizopus. Here we have rhizopus. Where it is? Rhizopus bread mold. See. So here we have rhizopus bread mold. So you just compare. This one we have collected and observed. So that's why you need to draw the diagram of a sketch diagram of that microscopic diagram what you have observed and compare with this diagram rhizopus bread mold. Figure number 3. Okay, did you see this? Yes. Let's go for the continuation. So draw the rough sketch diagram in your notebook. Nothing but observation book. What you have observed. Take the help of the figures given in figure number 3. Just I have shown now like a bread mold, rhizopus, and compare. Okay, then you will get that. Now, observing bacteria. Observing bacteria. See here. Observing bacteria. Up to now, we have observed that fungi. Now, let us go for the bacteria. Here, photograph of card in bowl. This is suitable for that bacteria because in this lactobacillus bacteria is there. Okay. So up to now, we have observed fungi. So take a small, some rotten part of a vegetable or black spoiled part of bread or coconut with the help of a needle. Place it on a slide, put a drop of water, place a cover slip on it gently and observe it under microscope. And draw a rough sketch diagram in your notebook of what you have observed. Take the help of the figure given in the figure number 3, that bread mold rhizopus we have shown now. Like you just compare with your observation diagram. Okay, now observing bacteria, this diagram photograph of a cardine bowl, this is helpful for that activity, uh, like for observation bacteria. Okay, photograph of cardine bowl. So in curd, lactobacillus bacteria is there. Oh, look, let us observe now about bacteria. So we can see the bacteria in buttermilk or curd or early morning scraping of tongue. Okay, scraping of your tongue with the tongue cleaner before washing the mouth. After washing mouth, nothing will be. We can be remove all. So before washing the mouth, you have to scrape the tongue before washing the mouth. We can also find them in the soil also, over bark of trees, over our skin, in our armpits, and many other places, but they are not visible to the naked eye because they are very micro. They are microparticles. They are microorganisms. So we can't see with our naked eye. That's why only they came under the microorganisms. Okay, we cannot see with our naked eye. Now let us look at them more closely by the following activity. By the following activity. So here, this is a very interesting activity. See, look at here. Figure number 3, figure number 7b, stained lactobacillus bacterium. Here, stained word here I have used. So about activity 3, let us discuss in next class. But before that, here stained word is there. Stained. Already I told you, once again I will repeat, a dye, a color. Okay, a dye used to color organic tissue, or here this particular shampoo, so as to make the structure visible for the microscopic examination. See here, we have used the dye. That's why a light blue color in that black aids we are observing. So to observe, to make the structure highlight, to make the structure visible for microscopic examination, we can use this staining. Very important. Okay, so here which is stained, that clearly will give that stained lactobacillus bacterium, or stained, like that they will give. Okay, so let us observe about activity 3 in next class. And so today we have discussed about the world of microorganisms and the great person Anthony van Leeuwenhoek and his microscope prepared by Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. And we had observed about we had know that about microorganisms, and we had observed the different types of microorganisms like bacteria and shapes, about fungi and shapes, and protozoa, and algae and microarthropods. In this we may have chance to get bread mold, amoeba, paramecium, and chlamydomonas are very important for drying purpose. And a group of microorganisms and microorganisms in water we have observed, and we have observed fungi also. Okay, by taking bread mold, etc. And now we are going to observe the bacteria, lactobacillus bacteria. Okay, so as time up, I'm going to wind up the session. And thank you, Varendal. And let us observe a beautiful slides in next class. Thank you, Varendal.
Good morning, all of you. How are you all today? Have you all written your examinations well? English examination was so easy, isn't it? Ammu, very good. What about Maunika, Sri Satya, Sravandi, Afnan, Srudirani? How did you all feel? Very easy, I think. Okay, very good. Nidesh, give me a smile, boy. Won't you smile? Kiran Jadhav, very good. Rishika, good. Chari, Ranjit, Hasini. Why don't you all turn on your cameras? Srujan. Okay. So I hope that you all have started writing your classwork book. I want you all to get it finished as early as possible. So let me share the screen now. So this is the lesson that we have been learning. Just a minute. The Selfish Giant, Class 8 English Unit 3, air reading The Selfish Giant Part 1. So the aim of this lesson is to make you understand the importance of humanity. So from this lesson, you have to understand that you have to consider other human beings as your brother or sister. And in case of our agenda today, introduction, vocabulary, explanation, and homework. In case of vocabulary, we have two good words here. Rattle. What do you mean by rattle? Rattle, it means make short, sharp knocking sounds. Make short, sharp knocking sounds. And what is the meaning of the word slates? A fine-grained gray, green, or bluish purple metamorphic rock easily split into smooth, flat plates. You could see the roof is made of the roof is built with slates here. You could see in this picture. And chimney pots. So you might have seen this chimney pots over the house. You could see 4 chimney pots here. And the next word is hail. What do you mean by hail? Small hard balls of ice that falls from the sky like a rain. Hailstorm. You might have heard about hailstorm in your social studies classes. You could see a lot of hails on the road here. So what do you mean by hail? Small hard balls of ice that falls from the sky like rain, especially in winter season, especially in European countries, you could see a lot of hailstorms. And the next words wrapped, covered or dressed, wrapped, wrapper, chocolate wrappers. Wrapped, it means covered or dressed. Rejoiced, expressed great happiness. Rejoice, express great happiness. Delightful, very pleasant. Delightful view, a very pleasant view. Cloak, cloak, it means a type of coat that has no sleeves. So usually cloak, this type of clothes are worn during the winter season, especially when you feel a lot of cold, you could wear such type of clothes. And the spelling CLOCK and CLOAK, both these words spelling pronunciation is almost the same, but here CLOAK, it means a type of coat that has no sleeves, which is usually worn during winter season. And you could see a giant personality here. It's a human-like structure, isn't it? So it has a very big body. And we have already started the lesson in the previous session. Let me read the lesson from the beginning. The selfish giant, old giant, and the giant refer to the same character. The giant is a selfish character, whereas old giant is changed and kind character. So the giant is a selfish character. In your examinations, usually you'll be asked a question like who is the selfish character, the giant or old giant? You'll have to write it like the giant. The old giant is a changed and kind character. So the giant is a selfish character, old giant is a kind character. An old giant addresses the audience directly. The action plays out behind him as he describes it. Old giant. I once owned a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were tall peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in autumn bore rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. So already we have covered all these paragraphs. So just let me tell you the summary of this paragraph. Old giant, he had a very lovely garden in which a lot of children used to play a lot of games during springtime. During spring season, the garden bore into delicate blossoms, and in autumn season, there were a lot of fruits. And sometimes what happened is that the children stopped playing their games in order to listen to the music by the birds. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in my garden. My garden, it means the old giant's garden. But one day I came back. So when the old giant was not in the house, I mean in the villa there, the children used to come and play. But if the old giant is there, what is the situation? It will be different. I had been to visit my friend, the Cornish ogre, and had stayed with him for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, I had said all that I had to say, and I determined to return to my own castle. When I arrived, I saw children playing in my garden. So what happened here is that old giant was away from his home for almost 7 years. So those 7 years, the children came to his garden and they played different kinds of games there. So one day, what happened is that the old giant came back and the old giant observed that the children playing in his garden. We don't know whether the old giant likes seeing the children playing in his garden or not. You will see in the next slide. The giant, what are you doing here? The children run away. So from this sentence, we can understand that the giant did not like the children playing in his garden. So some people are very selfish. They want everything, but they don't share it with others. Here the giant, he has a very beautiful garden, which gives blossoms and also rich fruits. But the children came, when the children came to play in his garden, he wanted to drive them away. What are you doing here? The children run away. The giant, my own garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. So the giant is a very selfish character. He didn't want any of the children playing in his garden. He said that I don't allow anybody to play in this garden. It is my garden, and I am the only one who is going to play in this garden. The old giant points out the younger giant working on a wall, putting up a sign and then listening at the wall. So the old giant points out the younger giant. There was a younger giant as well. He pointed, the younger giant was working on a wall, and the younger giant was putting up a sign. What was that sign? See, old giant. So I built a high wall all around and put up a notice board. So the old giant, he didn't want any of the children to play in his garden. That he built a high wall around his garden. If there was a high wall around the garden, were the children be able to get inside the garden? No, the children may not be able to get inside the garden. And there was a board like trespassers will be prosecuted. Trespassers, it means the person who enters into a building or who enters into a land without the permission of the owner. Trespassers will be prosecuted. It means punished. Trespassers will be punished. If you enter into my garden without my permission, you will be punished. So there was a notice board. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I hope this part has also been finished. I heard the children whispering outside the wall on their way to school. So the children, they were very disappointed because the giant drove them away from his garden. The children, they were happily playing in the garden for almost 7 years when the old giant was away to visit his friend Cornish ogre. See, you could see the giant is driving away children from his garden, and you see the body of the giant as well. It's a very great body, isn't it? Very big body. So when you see such a person, you will also be running away from him. Tall girl, now we have nowhere to play. So the children started speaking about the garden. The tall girl, she said that now we have nowhere to play. We used to play in the garden. We were very happy there. But what the present situation is, they didn't have any place to play. Short boy, we can play on the road. Then the short boy found a solution. We can play on the road. Anyhow, the giant is not allowing us to enter into his garden. Then we have only one place left, that is road. Then the square girl said, but the road is very dusty. Then there was a square girl. Why the children were given names like tall, short, square, graceful, round. So maybe the children were in the shape of short and square. Maybe her face is graceful. That's why. The other reason is that the giant didn't know their names. There may be two reasons. The one is the giant didn't know the name of the children. The other thing, the children may be in the shape of what he said, according to what he said. Say, tall girl, now we have nowhere to play. Then the short boy replied that we had a place. Oh, what was that place? We could play on the road. Then the square girl said that, but the road is very dusty. So if you play on the road, you may get affected with maybe some diseases. You will get sick. But the road is very dusty. So the square girl didn't want to play in the road. Then there was a graceful girl and full of hard stones. So the road was very dusty, as well as on the road you could see a lot of hard stones. If you play on the road, you may get hurt. Then the round boy, I don't like it. The round boy also said that I don't like playing on the road. Graceful girl, let's walk around the world when our lessons are over. Let's walk around the world when our lessons are over. It means that when we are coming back from school, now what we can do, only one thing that we can do is just to walk around the world. I mean, the giant built the wall around the garden. So around the wall, they could simply walk. At least we can talk about the beautiful garden inside. So at present, in the present situation, the children could do only one thing, that they could walk around the wall and speak about the beautiful garden inside. So except the garden, what was the place mentioned here where the children can play? They can play only on the road. What was the problem with the road? It was dusty and there were full of hard stones, so that they didn't like to play on the road. So finally they decided that they could walk around the world and they could talk about the beautiful garden inside. Tall girl, how happy we were there. So they were very happy when the giant was away. They used to play a lot of games. They used to listen to the music of the birds. They used to get a lot of fruits, and in spring season they could see a lot of beautiful flowers as well. So they were very happy in the garden. Then round boy, he's a very selfish giant. Then the round boy said that the giant was very selfish. The giant, he cares only himself. He is not caring the children, and he is not caring the mentality of the children. They wanted to play inside his garden. The giant is not at all allowing that. The giant is very selfish, that he said, this is my garden and I am the only one who is going to play in, and I will never allow any children get into my garden. So the giant opens a door in the wall and shouts at the children. When the children says that the giant is very selfish, when the round boy said that the giant was very selfish, then the giant opened the door and shouted at the children. What did he shout? See, my own garden is my own garden, and anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. This is my garden. This is my garden. Anyone can understand. You can understand that. You also know that this is my garden, and without my permission, I will not allow anybody to play in my garden. And moreover, I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. I will play, but I don't allow you to play. Then the children scatter. The children scatter. The children started running away from there. Scatter, it means running away to different directions. Old giant. Then the spring came. Who is spring? Is that the old giant's friend? No, the spring season. What happens during spring season? You could see a lot of flowers around you. If it is spring season, you can see a lot of flowers around you. Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in my garden it was still winter. See, all over the country there was spring season. But you could observe only one thing in Giant's garden. In Giant's garden, it was still winter. Except Giant's garden, everywhere you could see little flowers and little birds. So no birds came to Giant's garden. No flowers blossomed in Giant's garden. In Giant's garden, still it is winter season, completely covered with snow. The birds did not come to sing. So the birds, they did not enter into the giant's garden, and the trees forgot to blossom, and the trees did not give flowers. So only in giant's garden, it's looking terrible, but in the remaining part of the country, everywhere you could see a lot of flowers as well as little birds coming and sitting on the branches of the trees, and they started singing. But in giant's garden, nothing is happening. No flowers, no birds. The people who were pleased best were the snow and the frost. As the giant in the giant's garden, still it is winter, and remaining everywhere beautiful flowers and little birds. And in this situation, who were very happy? The people who were pleased best were the snow and the frost. Why the snow and the frost? They were very happy because they could stay in the old giant's garden for some more days. Isn't it? The snow, the frost. In winter season, you could see a lot of snow. You can see a lot of frost there. So they don't want to leave the garden. But when the spring season comes, the snow and the frost have to move from there. But in giant's garden, the snow and the frost, they are very happy because in giant's garden, still it is winter. No flowers, no birds. So the snow and the frost could stay a little longer in the old giant's garden. So it may be the punishment by the god, isn't it? The old giant, he did not allow the children to play in the garden. So that god might be punishing the old giant as he was very selfish. Only in giant's garden you can see winter, and the remaining part of the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Snow and frost, they are the happiest people because they can stay in the garden of the old giant. Spring has forgotten this garden. Spring season, it didn't come to this garden. It means spring has forgotten this garden. So now we can live here all the year round. So the snow and the frost, they are very happy because they can stay in the giant's garden for the entire year. Old giant. The snow covered up the grass with her great white cloak. The snow covered up the grass. You cannot see the grass. What you can see there? Completely snow. Snow has covered the grass with her great white cloak. What do you mean by cloak? As I said, the dress that you wear on winter season is called a cloak to protect from cold. So the snow covered up the grass completely. You cannot see grass. You can see only snow on the ground. And the frost painted all the trees silver. You look at the trees, they are in silver color because there was a lot of frost. So you cannot see the leaves of the trees as well, leaves and the wood of the trees as well, because the frost has painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them. Then they invited their friend Mr. North Wind to stay with them. When he came, he was wrapped in heavy furs. When the north wind came, he was wrapped, he was covered in heavy furs. You know what is called furs? The small hairs that you could see here. This is what is called furs. So when the north wind came, he was wrapped in heavy furs. He roared all day about the garden and rejoiced in blowing the chimney pots over. He made a lot of noise in the garden. He roared all day about the garden and rejoiced. He was very happy in blowing the chimney pots over. Already I have shown you the picture of the chimney pots. So there was a great disturbance caused by the north wind to the old giant. Why these all things had happened? because of all the giant's selfish character. If the giant allowed the children playing in his garden, it wouldn't have occurred. In his garden also there would be spring season, a lot of flowers, a lot of birds you could see in the garden, but you cannot see. The old giant did not allow the children to play in the garden. That's why only in old giant's garden you could see winter season, and the remaining parts of the country everywhere spring season. So the god punished the old giant by not giving spring season in his garden. So who are the happiest persons now? The snow, the frost, as well as the north wind as well. These three persons were very happy because they can stay in old giant's garden. Otherwise, if when the spring comes, the snow has to go, the frost has to go, the north wind also has to go, move away from old giant's garden. But now they are very happy. North wind, this is delightful sport. This is a very fantastic sport. We must ask the hill to come on a visit. And they are calling one another friend. In the beginning, snow and frost were there, isn't it? They called their friend north wind. Then the north wind said that we have to call the hail also. What do you mean by hail? That small pieces of round shaped ices which comes from the rain. So the old hail came. Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates, and then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. The hail came, he also started disturbing the old giant. How he disturbed the old giant? Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof. He rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates. So the roofs, on rooftop, you could see a lot of slates. So those slates were broken by the hail, by the old hail. A lot of small ice pieces which came from the sky, and it started breaking the slates of the roof. And then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. So all these things are making the old giant very crazy. He was dressed in gray and his breath was like ice. He was dressed in gray. So these small ice pieces you could see in gray color, and his breath was like ice. So the giant may not be able to come out of his house. He is forced to stay inside the house because totally the outside there was too much cold. The climate is very cold outside. The giant is not able to come outside of his house. He is staying only inside the house. I sat at the window and looked out at my cold white garden. Now the old giant is not happy. He is very unhappy because the spring had forgotten his garden, and the remaining 4 persons, he didn't want them in his garden. The snow, the frost, the hail, and the north wind, they were in the garden as well. So the giant sat at the window and looked out of the looked out at his cold white garden. The old giant feels very unhappy. The giant, I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming. I hope there will be a change in the weather. So the giant still, he didn't understand why the spring is so late in coming. The giant is still hoping that the spring would come. But we know that the spring will never come, isn't it? I hope there will be a change in the weather. So the giant is hoping that maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, there will be a change in the weather. Until he gives permission to the children to play in his garden, the garden will remain with the winter season. So no person should be selfish, isn't it? If you are selfish, you are going to face a lot of troubles. If you are kind and changed, you will be having a very good life here. But here, the old giant, he didn't change his character. So that the spring, what happens in the next sentence, you see old giant, but the spring never came, nor the summer season. So there was no spring season, there was no summer season. In giant's garden, there is only winter season, which he doesn't like, because he's not able to come out into his garden. He is not able to play in his garden. There was no fruits, there was no flowers, there was no birds. The situation is very hard for the old giant. Autumn, he is too selfish. Why the autumn season is not visiting old giant's garden? Because he is too selfish. Old giant. So it was always winter here. And the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow danced about through the trees. So it was always winter in the garden of the old giant. So the happiest people, who were them? The winter, the north wind, the hail, and the frost. And they always danced about through the trees. So this is the end of the lesson, and the following part we will be learning in the second lesson. So the selfish part, selfish giant, the second part is also there, and this is the end of the first part. Okay. So this lesson explains you what happens to a selfish person. If you are selfish, what is going to happen? You will be facing a lot of difficulties in your life. So you should never behave like a selfish person. You will have to be kind towards others. You will have to help others. Okay. Did you all understand the lesson? Okay, fine. So this is the end of this session, and we will be continuing with the next part of this lesson in the next session. Thank you all.